Good morning, App Properties. It's Friday. We may be mistaking it for December 17th with all of this snow, but yes, it is April 17th. I'm Amy Corr, and I'm joined by Kevin Van Eck, who is live from downtown. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin. Good morning, Kev.
Hey, good morning, Amy. Yes, thank you for joining us again on the snowy Friday. Pleasant to wake up to freezing rain turning into snow. So thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. As has been the trend on Fridays, we really want to focus on community. We have a few things we're going to talk about first logistically. We're going to talk about how HOAs and maybe management companies are handling certain things. But then we're going to focus on community again. And we've got a couple of special guests with us today to share what they've done and what they are doing.
Thanks, Kev. Yep. So we wanted to just touch base. Mike Golden had sent out an email, I think yesterday afternoon, just with an update on everything that's going on with unemployment, PPP, and this EIDL program. So you may have read what he had sent along, but just in regards to unemployment. In Michigan and in Wisconsin, I think right now, people are able to move forward and they've opened it up for independent contractors. In Illinois, though, we are still waiting for them to get that finalized. But the most recent update that we did receive is that even though they haven't completely gotten their system up to date, they are encouraging you to start filing if you're an independent contractor. What they want you to do is at least get your place in line. So I would encourage you to maybe check out the site. The email that Mike sent yesterday included all of the details of how to apply. A couple of things to make sure of that are really important is that when you are applying, you want to make sure that you do not put at properties as your employee. That will automatically kick you out of the system. The other thing that's really important is you want to make sure that once you start the application process, you do need to finish it. There isn't an option to start it, save your information, and come back later. So I would really make sure you've got all of the materials that you need and you've read through the step-by-step process we've laid out for you in order to complete the application. And again, if you've got questions, we've got Stimulus at App Properties to go to help support you. In regards to the PPP program, as many of you may have heard, that initial round of funding, the $349 billion, has actually been allocated. So at this point in time, we are understanding that the government is kind of taking a look and reassessing, and we are hopeful that another round of funding will be coming. But at this point, that program has reached capacity as far as being able to pay out from the PPP. Same is true with the EIDL, which is the Economic Income Disaster Loan Recovery Program. People did apply for that, and similarly, the funding has been capped out. So I know that the government is really looking at being able to resupply that for a second round of funding. Mike did really encourage that if any of you guys have connections in Congress, that we would suggest you reach out just to let them know that the lack of them being able to come to some agreements internally within the government is really impacting or affecting your ability to be able to apply for some of these programs. So that's kind of the latest. We're going to continue to keep you abreast of anything new that we find. So always keep an eye out for emails sent out by Mike Golden, but we just thought it might be helpful to recap the latest this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. I know it can be confusing when you're reading through those emails, especially with all the different programs and when there's, conflicting information that they're putting out where it changes day to day. So thank you for reading those emails. And then every time there is an update, we'll recap here. We are getting questions too about some of the logistical things when it comes to your clients, whether they're renters or whether they're buyers or sellers. And so we wanted to talk about that briefly. I think one of the main questions we're getting is what's happening with moving? And so first off, some moving companies are operating, some are not. Moving is an essential service in Illinois, so making some calls and figuring out who is moving is a good first step, and scheduling in advance. And then in terms of the HOAs or rental buildings and the management companies that manage them, the best step is to communicate with them directly about their process. So we are hearing that people are able to move in and out of these buildings. There haven't been any hiccups there, but of course, with everything going on, they have implemented different procedures. Just as you may have seen when they're using elevators in high rises, there are some different procedures. So make sure that you or your client reaches out to the HOA and the management company to make sure that we understand what the process is, so that there are no issues with your clients moving in or out of a specific building. So communication is key.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So one of the things that I love is that on Fridays, Kevin and I have really wanted to always focus on community and sort of taking a look at what others are doing in our community right now as we are being impacted by COVID-19. And so this morning, I'm really excited to welcome our first guest, Lindsey Kaplan. She and her mom, Ann Kaplan, are a team out of our Arlington Heights office. And, we've been asking agents to share what they're doing right now, just to move their business forward, but also just to really impact people in their community. And Lindsey and I have known each other for about a year and a half, and we talk a lot. She and I do coaching phone calls. And when COVID first happened, she and I were on the phone and we were talking about how to move her business forward and kind of keep momentum for her and Ann, going during this time. But we also really talked about the significance or the importance of being able to give back to community and feeling that what we're doing right now is really authentic. And so it was probably about a week and a half ago, I got a text message from Lindsey, and she sent me this cool picture that had all of these little bottles lined up and a huge jug of hand sanitizer. And she said, check out what I'm doing. So I'm joined this morning by Lindsey. So Lindsey, I just want you to say hello, and I want you to be able to share a little bit about what you're doing, you and Ann are doing right now to help your community.
Hello there. Hi. So basically, we were talking and I should back up and say the whole COVID thing really kind of put pause on you. And, this is something that was unprecedented. And so it was very hard to even move forward because there's really no game plan for something like this and how to reach out and how to not sound tone deaf. And so I knew that it was important for me to show up for my sphere and for my community, but the question was how. So my college roommate happens to own the Chicago distillery, and I reached out to her and I said, hey, any chance you guys can send me over some of that hand sanitizer that you guys are now making? And of course she said yes. So I'll just show you exactly what I was handing out. I had these little love bottles, had to do some branding. And this is basically what she gave us. So we have gallons of this sanitizer because I knew that was the one thing that people were needing. Toilet paper, sanitizer, Lysol wipes. And so I was able to get my hands on the sanitizer, and that's what was going out to the community. We reached out to, 100 people at least. We got tons of texts back from everyone. And people were so appreciative. Everyone was like, oh my God, we're totally out, or we didn't stock up. Can you please send over a couple for me? We ended up sending a gallon to one of our clients who owns a bunch of Culvers, and they were out. So it really was it made us be a resource for our community and actually truly show up and prove to them in hard times, we will show up for you. And it's interesting because a week later, one of my clients fell into an issue with her condo association where she might end up getting moved out. And she used me as the resource. And she's like, oh my gosh, can we talk about this? And so again, I think that just really hit home the fact that I am your resource. So that's basically what we did.
I love it. I love it. And the idea is, it's just come up with a solution, right? This isn't really about sales right now. It's really what people need and kind of what can we be doing to be sort of that connector or that resource. And, because Kevin and I talk a lot about it, when we, take a step back, what do we encourage about this business all the time? It's all about relationships. And right now it's going to what people are really needing. So I absolutely loved your story because you and I were kind of bantering earlier about just how can I make a difference? And well, it seems like hand sanitizer, super easy, get a big jug, stick it into bottles. I love that you put the love on it. But just a small token makes such a big impact on people. And Lindsey, we were talking earlier, and I want you to share one other thing that I know has been something you've been working on for a while. Arlington Heights is where you are living and you're raising your family right now. And I know that you are really involved in social media. and you've developed this site that really focuses on Arlington Heights. And I know that right now you've decided to use this as a way to, help local businesses. So can you share a little bit about your Instagram site, or, your Instagram that you've set up for Arlington Heights and what you're doing right now?
Sure. So for a long time, I've been working on this site called Arlington Heights Living. And the main goal is to support local, and really help bring a light on all the great businesses that are in Arlington Heights. And not only that, it also has given me an opportunity. I meet with all the owners and really try and make those connections with them. And so I was doing right from January to, March, I would say, I was doing a huge blitz. I was meeting with probably 2 to 3 businesses a week and highlighting these different businesses. And then this hit, and I really switched gears, and I reached out to about 30 separate businesses and said, hey, if you're doing anything right now, send it over to me. I'll post it up there. We don't need to meet, nothing like that. And we'll just keep on promoting. And I was able to build up a nice following. It's a very local following. And what these businesses have done is they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing 20% off curbside pickup. Send me some pictures. Great. I throw that up. There's a lot of businesses who have been sending food to hospitals, and that gets huge traction. And so it's just, I wanted to give businesses just one more push to say, here's more exposure for you. And the great thing is the engagement has been fantastic. And you see a lot of people who will, tag their friends in the posts to say, hey, we need to try this place out. Let's go check this place out. So people are seeing that they're getting supported and they're getting this extra exposure to help get more money funneled into the business. So I think that it's just been another way to show that, we are hyper local. We really want to work and support these local businesses. That's it.
All right. Thanks, Lindsey. That was thank you for sharing. That was really great. I want to introduce our next guest, Cindy Beauvais. And if you know her, she's a broker with At Properties out of the Bannockburn office. And if you know her, you've probably laughed. And laughed in a good way, because everyone, I think I would say that she's famous for her humor. One of the reasons we brought her on is because we've been getting reports, just like there are spotters for the magnets out there are spotters out there for great other At Properties brokers. And so, Cindy, you've been spotted. So we wanted to introduce you here. So I know I asked you a question earlier in terms of, what do you think the things are that you've been doing? Is there anything that stands out to you in how you've been making an impact in other brokers' lives in Bannockburn or your community in general?
Oh, I think much of what you've heard is rumor, but the one thing I've been doing is I've really been trying to reach out to not just agents, but people that I know who live alone. I thought, in the beginning, before anybody really had a handle on what this virus was doing and what it was about and how long it might last, I thought about people who lived alone. And I thought, I was single in the city for 19 years, and the difference between having a family and not, or a spouse and not, I think is huge. So I've just been reaching out to people and offering to make them laugh, to cook them a meal. Nobody's taken me up on it yet. But really, I think that just thinking about people or letting people who live alone know that you're thinking of them makes a difference.
That's really great. It's funny because it's not a rumor. You say that the spotters out there, that there are rumors floating around. It's not a rumor. And I know that nobody, there are certain people that don't like surprises. I have a feeling that you're okay with surprises. So I want to share something here really quickly that we received, which is an email we had gotten from the RAOK@properties.com email address. And RAOK stands for Random Acts of Kindness.
Oh my gosh.
And so I want to read this really quickly, because this is why we invited you on, because you're making an impact, a bigger impact than you even think, realize, want recognition for, notice, because it's natural to you. So this is from Marsha Brown, and she said, this person is not only a colleague, but a friend. She is genuine and shows support. She genuinely cares for her fellow colleagues. When I was homesick, she checked on me and brought me a care package and picked up my prescription. She sincerely expresses joy in other successes. She is a joy to work with and always makes everyone laugh. I've observed her during the course of this pandemic, and she is always checking in on agents living alone with no family, reaching out to those on social media, offering shopping, masks, or just someone to talk to. She is such a positive light and support. We all love having her in our office. Cindy truly embodies the @ culture that is love, teamwork, and friendship. She is Cindy Beauvais.
Oh, Marcia's in big trouble. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that solves that mystery.
Yes, but she is not alone in those feelings. So I think we wanted to bring you on because you're making a bigger impact than you realize. And one of the things that Amy had talked about and I had talked about over the last couple of weeks is, doing things for people naturally when you don't even realize it. It's not about the recognition. It's not about, kudos. It's not about posting it on Facebook. And so I really think that you embody that. I think there are things that we do deserve recognition for. That sometimes flies under the radar. So Cindy, thank you for being you.
Thank you.
One other thing that we wanted to touch on today, one more thing, was a shout out, and this is really from me because I'm in a different position than a lot of people where I don't have kids. And so my life, and each one of us has a different situation, and we're going through a different situation. And I understand, in meeting with Amy every morning early, and seeing what's happening when someone has children at home and they have a spouse or a partner with them, and they're not used to that sort of an environment. And if you asked Amy what her home life is like, she would probably say, insane?
Sorry, I had to get myself off mute. Sure, on a good day, it's insane. But yes, it's, we put on a good face, but there's our challenges in the background.
Yeah, so I want to send a shout out because as we're sitting here and we're talking about not only business and how you can make sure you can come out of the pandemic stronger and what you can learn now that you've always wanted to learn, and we're talking about impacts that we make in our community and in our offices, I think the one thing I really want to recognize and shout out is everybody who's at home, whether you're a mom or a dad, being at home with your children and having to deal with e-learning, having to deal with being around, your family that you haven't been around and still accomplish everything else you're trying to do in your business. So we recognize that. And I want to make sure that everyone is taking advantage of whether it's the recorded webinars that are out there. We're working to improve and continuously create more content that you can watch at will during the 30 minutes you get alone a day, during the hour at night at maybe midnight when everyone else is in bed. So if you have any suggestions or any ideas of that, please send them to us at coffee@properties.com. But I do want to recognize everyone out there who's in a new situation that's still trying to make everything happen because I know it's not easy. So thank you everybody for joining us. Lindsey, Cindy, thank you for everything you're doing in the community. Such cool stories. And Cindy, thanks for being a good sport with a surprise. And hope everyone grabs another cup of coffee and gets your day started.
Thanks, guys. Make it a great day. Thanks, Lindsey. Thanks, Cindy.